Hi there and welcome to my kitchen. I hope you're ready to learn a healthier way to enjoy comfort food today. I'm talking about pasta. Everyone loves pasta. It's quick to make, but then a pasta can be very difficult to digest, especially one made with cheese and tomatoes. Mmm. Now that's where this genius recipe is different. You'll feel good and light after eating this, especially if you select a gluten-free pasta option. The creamy sauce for this vegan mac and cheese draws on the natural grounding and smooth qualities of butternut squash. The addition of broccoli adds the bitter taste and a light, airy quality that combats stagnation and promotes peristalsis, so you won't feel any heaviness after eating. I dare you to test your friends and family to guess if there's cheese in this mac and cheese. I bet they don't notice because it's so creamy. Stick around and I'll show you exactly how to make broccoli mac and cheese with squash sauce. So I think we'll begin by taking a look at the unique ingredients. So the umami, savory flavor that mimics cheddar cheese actually comes from cooked onion, tahini, miso, and a vinegar. And that's how we simulate a sharp cheddar taste. So tahini is a healthy fat source made from ground up sesame seeds. It's ground into a paste. And these little seeds are rich in thiamine, calcium, magnesium, protein, iron, niacin, and zinc. Miso is a fermented product that's a little salty and a lot umami. It's commonly used in soups and sauces. And if you don't have it, you can substitute with nutritional yeast or just leave this part out. Now the recipe calls for umeboshi plum vinegar or umi plum vinegar. And this is made from the salted, pickled Japanese umi plum. And this is really popular in macrobiotic cooking, and it's a personal favorite of mine. Umi plum is known to promote digestion and the assimilation of nutrients in the small intestine. Now, if you don't have this fancy vinegar, use apple cider, white wine, white vinegar, or something else. Then you already know about the butternut squash and the broccoli. And we're also going to use parsley for the minerals and to brighten up the final dish. I've also left a crunchy pumpkin seed or crushed almond topping optional, but I do recommend it. Who doesn't love crunch? All right, let's make this. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is prepare the broccoli. And I'm using my knife to cut the broccoli into big pieces and then smaller pieces and then later even smaller pieces. And this is entirely up to you, but I like the idea of seeing little broccoli trees in the final dish. So that's why I chose to let the broccoli keep its shape. And here I'm just cutting it into even smaller pieces before adding it to the measuring cup to measure out the 4 cups that we need for this recipe. And some of them are already small enough. Some of them need a little bit of extra trimming. You see, I'm using a paring knife for this. All right, pushing it down a little, that's perfect. Next, we've got a large pot of boiling water. I always like to salt the water for pasta because it gives a chance to season it. We're using 1/2 pound, so that was not quite this whole package. Just look on the package to see how much is in there. Give it a good stir immediately after adding the pasta, and then cover it or partially cover it to bring it up to a boil. Because when you add the pasta, the boiling water stops boiling, as you know. So you want to make sure you're stirring so that the noodles don't get stuck. And then partway through the cooking process, we're adding the broccoli. So this is a method to cook the broccoli and the pasta together, and you want to time it so that both are done at exactly the same time. I just love this way of enhancing pasta with extra vegetables. You can do this any day of the week. And then pour it out into a strainer and set that aside until later. Now we're going to work on the sauce. So I'm breaking down a whole butternut squash here, but you are welcome to buy the prepared squash from the grocery store. So you can get cubes of butternut squash these days, already peeled, already cut into pieces. But here you're seeing how you could do that from scratch. I've got a nice sharp knife here. I'm making sure that my hands are really stable on there. And it's relatively easy once you learn the technique. You're seeing exactly the technique here. So hopefully this is helpful. It's always nice to be able to prepare something from scratch. It's going to be fresher that way. So what I'm doing here is just cutting it into big pieces. We are going to be steaming this. So we just cut it into pieces so that we can get that cooked. Measuring out again, 3 cups is what the recipe calls for. I think I end up with a little bit extra. Here I'm using a giant serving spoon that is nice and sturdy to remove those seeds. Just cutting that part into chunks. All right, so I've got a little bit more here than what the recipe calls for. It calls for 3 cups, but that's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're also going to add some onions to this recipe. It adds a grounding quality. It also adds some gentle pungency. And I'm just cutting this into big pieces. And here is the squash going into the steamer, and we're going to steam the onions at the same time. So you see here again the technique of doing 2 things at once in a single pot. And this is allowing us to just get more vegetables in with less fuss. So I'm adding water. This is tahini, which is a ground sesame paste, miso, which is a fermented grain and or bean. It's full of umami, which is savory flavor. So those ingredients are going into the blender, along with this umami plum vinegar. So you can use any vinegar, as I explained, some black pepper. And then we're going to blend this. And this is basically the sauce, that creamy vegan sauce. And the butternut just brings such a creaminess. It's incredible. And at this point, we just want to mix everything together. Now, you can totally stop here after mixing to enjoy this pasta. Or if you wanted, you could throw this whole thing back into a baking tray. If you eat cheese, you can top it with cheese, or you can top it with your nuts and seeds and roast it in the oven until it's sizzling and golden brown. So that's an optional step. Most people won't want to do that unless they want to be extra fancy. This is totally done. We're just going to add a little bit more of the aromatics in. This is parsley, giving us a lot of additional nutrition. And you always want to taste. Getting your final flavor balanced and perfect is the secret step in cooking. Even if you follow the recipe, you still want to taste and adjust, adding more salt, more black pepper. I think I'm even going to add some more vinegar here. So vinegar is adding in the sour taste. So if it doesn't taste amazing, if it doesn't taste good to you, you can add in some extra tastes. And here we are. After adding, you want to taste it again. So how about we plate this and give it a taste? Oh my goodness. Look at how incredibly creamy this is. I hope you can see that. Oh, that is quite a nice serving, isn't it? Probably too much. Let's see. So on top, I'm gonna make it pretty by sprinkling some extra parsley. And also some pumpkin seeds. Pumpkin seeds for crunch. Pumpkin seeds for crunch. Pumpkin seeds for crunch. And you can never go wrong with a little sprinkle of salt and a little squeeze of fresh lemon. Wonderful. Just adding that sour taste, a little bit more, adding the bit of salt, right? Just a tiny bit, but it makes all the difference. We did it! Isn't that beautiful? It's full of green colors from the broccoli and the parsley and the pumpkin seeds and that vibrant orange that looks just like cheese, even though it comes from butternut squash. And then we've got those umami tastes in there. So let's see, how does it taste? Mmm. Mmm. Makes you happy. Yep. So, depending on how well cooked the noodles are, chewy, right? Nice and chewy, which is a pleasant thing about pasta. A little bit of chewiness there. I'm gonna get the pumpkin seed topping so I can taste the crunch. I highly recommend including that topping. And the other thing is, we didn't add salt through the process, except in the salt of the pasta water. And then I sprinkled some in at the end. So feel free to adjust the salt. If it's not tasting amazing, I recommend a little more salt and a little more lemon juice, just to bump up the flavor. Or you could put a little more vinegar in there. So cheese has a natural sour taste, and that's part of what makes it so pleasant. So make sure you can taste the sour taste in this. And what would I serve this with? The thing that really stands out to me, that would really complement the flavors of this dish, are actually arugula. So I have here some arugula greens. These are baby leaves, which are so nice. You can get these in grocery stores these days. And what I'm gonna do is pour some olive oil and again, some fresh lemon, a little bit of salt onto the arugula and have that with the pasta. So let me show you the difference. So a little bit of olive oil, a little bit of salt, a little bit more, and then some fresh lemon. So with the with the arugula, we're getting some pungent taste, right? Some peppery taste. We're getting the lemon. We're getting the salt. So we're getting a little heat. This is actually going to bring digestive support. I always like using 2 little spoons to mix. So mix, mix, mix. Okay, and then I probably got a little bit too much here, so I'm going to take some out. And then I'm literally going to put some of this arugula salad with the pasta. So now look at what we have, right? So I always actually recommend having leafy greens, either cooked or fresh, with pasta, because pasta is a little heavy. Even though we prepared this in such a beautiful way, it can still be heavy. And so I love the addition of the leafy greens. Also, the flavors in here are really gonna complement the pasta, and they usually do. Of course, we've also got that lovely cooked broccoli in here. Don't forget that. So broccoli, arugula, pumpkin, parsley. Look at all the greens that we managed to get into a mac and cheese. So I promised you a new and unique way of enjoying mac and cheese, and you got it. So thank you for watching. I hope that you loved learning how to make vegan mac and cheese with squash sauce. If you loved this video, make sure that you follow me and leave a comment below letting me know how you liked this video. And you can also hit that like button, whatever you can do to let me know that you enjoyed this so that I'm encouraged to make more videos for you. I would really appreciate that. And don't forget to actually make this recipe. So taking action on what you learned is how you're going to change your life. So look for the link to the full recipe with the instructions in the description below. And in there you'll find plenty of ideas for how to modify this recipe, changes, substitutions, all that jazz. So thanks for watching, and bye for now.